All right, so just touching a bit of agenda, so just do a bit of introduction on who we are in terms of the coordination challenge, touch on AI dashboards and reporting, automated clash detection and issue assignment, touching on site coordination, because not only with us as BOM coordinators, we're like the middleman between design coordination and construction. And touching on the foundations of AI and BOM coordination and what the future looks like for BOM coordination. So just to start off with a little quote, one of my favorite architects, Renzo Piano, he had said, architecture is the art of creating shelter for human beings, period. And it's not easy at all. And that's exactly in our industry, because there's so many complexities. So it's not only design, it's dealing with thousands of models, it's dealing with a lot of consultants all on one project. And this is where AI actually comes in BOM coordination. AI becomes part of the conversation.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're dealing with multiple disciplines here. When we get into a project, most of the time we try to aim for as little clashes as possible before you break ground, right? And it's almost impossible to hit zero clashes. And from our experience, we've come across projects where we start off with over like 10,000 different clashes, right? And most of the clashes are either valid clashes, etc. And this whole process, from my experience, has always required a human interaction. Right? I don't know if any one of you guys have done clash detection and nervous works. Has anyone did? ACC model coordination, right? I had love when we started off sitting, assigning an issue. I think you went over like 2,000 clashes, now issues to almost 2,000 to like 20 people at a time. You hated it at first.
Yeah, so it's big.
So the concept that I want to share with you is that we involve AI to reduce that human interaction, right, and also get early on reporting as well. Right. Now, as I mentioned, the traditional bottleneck is just manual clash filtering, human interpretation required, right? We've got static issues that are sent out. For example, the Navisworks Excel sheet, that's a static report that you receive from Navisworks. And most of the time, even though we're working on ACC, it's still all based on emails. You see an email, that's okay, if you click on a link, go find your clash, resolve it, send an email back, right? And we've started introducing an AI in our workflows to reduce the noise, right? You go to the next slide. Right, so, you're going to talk about this.
Sure. Cool. So, like Tubbs mentioned, that there's a lot of noise that happens, thousands of clashes, and it gets quite overwhelming. And I mean, like, I get from the consultant's point of view, when we sign clashes, you see all these issues that are coming through an email, and it gets quite overwhelming. So in that sense, we're looking at our traditional workflow. So typically the guys upload their models as Worksheet Cloud models, and through our folder structure with our work in progress folder, then shared folder, and we use that in ACC to run the automated clash detection. So ACC in model coordination somewhat has AI into it in terms of its automation, but the human side of it comes, we actually have to view the clashes and understanding what's clashing, what discipline is clashing, etc. And then thereafter assigning to the relevant discipline. Then thereafter we extract that data into Power BI. I know Tabang has mentioned that in this session with the Power BI coding. So this is a bit of a manual process, and then thereafter we have a weekly or bi-weekly coordination meetings. So prior to that, when the manual placement of the issues is placed in XCC, that is then brought into Revit. So somewhat automation, but when we start looking at using AI as part of our workflow. So imagine now you upload your information as how you usually would, but then the next step is the AI database. So in that sense that it analyzes the data, and then after it runs an automatic clash detection. So now this is where agentic AIs come in. So you have AI agents at every step of the process. So from one, understand, analyzing the clash. Thereafter, once it's identified, analyzing the risks. How does it impact the project? Thereafter, then send that information to the next agent, which will be automatic assigning to relevant discipline. So prior to that, in the background, we probably would have to, like on ACC, when you add the user to the project, associated with the email, etc., etc. So with the next AI agent, which will actually then collect that user data that's associated to the authoring of that discipline model. And then after, it's automatically assigned. And then after providing AI action suggestive resolutions. And that is then fed to a live dashboard collecting all of this data, and now you reduce your PIM coordination issues. So here's an example. So I use Lovable AI just to create a concept, an idea. So like the Bagas mentioned, we used the AI model, which is ChatGPT, and I gave it a prompt, and then after I gave it an idea, and thereafter generate the prompt from that. I then put it into the Lovable AI to generate a dashboard with a live model in that sense. So now you can see, understands the risks, understands how it impacts the project, and analyzing the clash per what's critical, what's in warning, etc., etc. Yeah.
Now the core of that, I know we didn't mention this. Most of the time when we do test detection, that's happening behind the scenes. But our project managers, our developers don't actually see what's happening in the project. Right? Using the power of AI and creating those types of dashboards, it gives you any insight onto the project. You can make decisions earlier as an owner, as a developer. So there's a lot of benefit to those tools besides just the design phase. I think Talan spoke about this. Currently, we've seen the technology going quite quickly. We're in an era now where we have a combination of large language models. Jay spoke about MCPs, we'll talk about where it fits in a moment. And that brings us into an era where we say it's an agentic AI, but we allowing AI to become our assistant and help us lower those costs. What's the Lisa? Right. Are these AIs connected? So we spoke about it in the previous presentations. The problem with our point of view, right? I always say it's about Sahape as well. Our data was never structured. But AIs in the manufacturing space have been getting used early on, probably like 7, 8 years ago, right? And the reason for that, we didn't have proper data to pull from our models. Right, so we've got our large language models, ChatGPTs, etc. And what that does is it understands and it reasons with us. That's what we use to communicate to projects, right? And our agentic AIs, right, will help act and design. So our agentic AIs are able to read and see the data that we're putting in our project. The reason that happens is because we have what we call NCPs, which is the Model Context Protocol. This ensures that our data is standardized, secure, and we're able to communicate with it. So that allows us to connect and enable AI workflow. So move on. Right. When I was in San Diego 2 years ago, right, I just spent a lot of time in the past 10 years doing a lot of machine learning. Who's familiar with Project Benini? What? Jason, thank you. Project Benini was one of those platforms that Autodesk put out to give it prompts and create 3D models, right? So based on generative design, etc., right? And the machine learning is now being connected to the large language models. Next.
Yeah. So this is where, for example, came across this AI platform plugin that goes into Revit. It's called the Boomerang. So basically, like mentioned, that analyzes the clash data. So in this instance, you can see there are services clashing, cable trays are running through ducts, and this is all in Revit. So what this does, it analyzes, and then after gives suggestive resolutions and automates this for you. So the only human side of it is like making sure that your systems actually work based on the resolution.
Right, so I don't want to talk too much about this. What is Autodesk doing with AI? Right. Biggest thing that will probably come out this year is Autodesk Assistant, which will plug into your ACC platform and also other softwares like AutoCAD, Revit, Civil Preview, right? Yeah, and you'll be able to start communicating with your actual authoring tool. We already have Construction IQ that keeps track of the information on your construction project, right? And Autodesk has also introduced MCP servers for different solutions, allowing you to connect your LMs and your agentic AIs to your project as well. Right. A big one that's coming up as well, the tools are available already, such as Forma. But we've been using Forma early on in projects when it comes to urban planning, do concepts and stuff. You already have access to like noise analysis, sun studies, wind analysis, but there will be more. You'll be able to create layouts and work out your development will work before you get into design phase. The beautiful thing about this and these solutions, all these solutions are connected, right? So you're not jumping from SketchUp to Revit to Civil 3D to AutoCAD. We're all working with data that can be translated into any software. Move on now. Oh, before that, graphically, there's a question around the ISO 42001 certification. Autodesk actually achieved the world's first AI management standard by demonstrating on their strong commitment to the technology.
So that is what, now that our data is structured, now that feeds into a live dashboard. So like Tubbs mentioned, like for example, your owners or developers, they want to see what's happening in the project. So using this agentic AI to analyze the data, thereafter getting a live dashboard that analyzes the risks of the project. So like, for example, that QR code that you just scanned and you went through, probably through the lane, and so it's somewhat of that. So just to give you an example, on a typical project, so this is a clash data dashboard that we built. So traditionally, we, like I said in the beginning, that we extract the data and then they have to put it into a live dashboard because, I mean, like to sit in a coordination meeting and go through each clash by clash is quite good. So when we analyze data as an overall approach and see where we are on the project, based it on per discipline, per volume, per level in that sense, and analyzing on the time frame on when clashes were closed, open, etc. So that's basically the manual. So now with the raw clash, from the raw clash to design from insights, this is where the live dashboard comes in. So now the clashes are analyzed and then spin into a live dashboard, which everybody in the project will probably have access to. And yeah, and yeah, that's what I think.
I get all the birds right there. And I'm just going. So, like I said, this report here is taken from your platform that you created.
Yeah.
It's just models that are uploaded immediately using AI and knowing what's happening in project. Immediately to see where you've got critical issues, higher issues, and the issues that are not that important as well, without really having any human interaction. I know ACC will give you the flash matrix. It'll give you like a little heat map. With that heat map, you still need to go in, look at the model, etc., etc. So AI is able to learn your models and your information that you're feeding it.
So that used to exactly what Tubbs said. So for example, both this became allowable AI. So I attracted an ISC because it was just so easier to use than to tap into Autodesk API. So I extracted, just to give an example. So then this possibly been uploaded as IFC model. That's just a testing phase. And once all models are uploaded, then we proceed to the next phase, which is the automatic clash detections. So based on the tolerances of the clashes, you would run the clash detection, great, and then analyzes the risks. Okay, there, dashboard. So again, it's live later.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Right. So this brings us to the first thing. Tabanga, so he showed an example where he was conversating with his Revit platform, right? And just going to talk about just conversational planning, how it impact in our coordination space, right? So he spoke about Autodesk Assistant, right? And what that will do is basically brings us into this conversational AI ability directly into your Web tools, right? And you're able to just use natural language prompts and able to create instant actionable insights.
Yeah. So it's like with having a conversation with a person. So in this case, you have your little bum free. Okay, this didn't play, but here's an example. Sparkle AI, which is a case study from Autodesk platform services. With this AI platform, the model will be integrated into this platform. You can actually start having a conversation with your BIM data. So having to how can I delay?
This next.
Yeah, here we go. So now you could actually, for example, in this case, where they could extract all the doors and then they after give it some type of cost estimation to it and really kind of communicating with your BIM data.
Right, so that coordination, the way it looks, right, basically on your user interface, you're interacting with ChatGPT, whatever platform you want to use, right? We'll have your AI basically putting together the semantic data, the geometry and the issue logs, and creating your own feedback. You can go to the next slide. Right, go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Right. Go back. Sorry, guys. Okay, start. So, in this instance, a user query show me all critical clashes on level 3 and on. I had a scenario, on mentioned names, right, and this specific project needed to get feedback on information that was shared like 3-4 years ago in ACC. Right. The report that we're getting from ACC was a CSV file. So we chucked that into an agentic AI lent data and started getting more detailed information from just a model comparison. Instead of just looking at red, green, and yellow, right, we're able to get detailed information on who did what, when it was done, how the information was changed in the project, etc. And it was only possible because of this workflow that's in here.
So then, like we're getting about the amount of overload information. So now we funnel that down into from noise filtering to clash clustering, the severity scoring of the clash, and with the automatic assignment and route. So if you look at this video on the side here, this is all. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But anyway. In this case, you can actually have a conversation with your Revit model. So in that case, having to maybe perhaps highlight certain walls or understand, bringing in, for example, with MEP coordination, bringing different services, understanding the clash in that sense.
Can I just chat about this quickly? What that plugin did, it's called BIM Logic, I think.
Yes, BIM Logic.
So, this is in your rig environment, right? Your BIM Logic plugin, you use working with different services. The creative expense of MEP guys, you guys will be working the same office but still have clashes. Well, there's no line. So what that plugin does, right, you can tell it to pick up all the clashes. It creates the 3D views for you for each clash in the model, and you're obviously able to go and interact with set, etc. Very useful. Annoying just navigating through what do you call that spaghetti noodle thing with your HVAC done. But just stay here as well. So the idea with introducing AI in clash detection, right, is to automate the clash triage, right? So instead of sitting with 20,000 caches in the model, having back and forth communication with different managers, you should be able to look at reducing the noise in your model, right? Start clustering your clashes, right? And then seeing how severe the different clashes are and assigning it to the relevant people. So this is where AI is taking coordination in our industry. Can't you go to the next slide? Right. There's a little example here. If you look at a scenario where you have a model 10,000 plus clashes, I'm sitting behind a computer and I need to start communicating with the project team on what they need to fix. We'll receive the raw clashes, right? Cluster it down to maybe 3,000 valid clashes. In a project like this, manually you sit through 7,000 clashes and say it's valid.
Yeah.
I actually was sworn at by a work services engineer because I assigned 20 millimeter penetration caches, probably like 1,000 of them. Yeah. They would not be happy after the meeting. So avoid scenarios like this. You verify what cache is valid, assign 150 cache clusters, and then you end up with maybe like 12 issues, things that you need to focus on at that stage of the project. You've got 5 minutes on. The next. Cool. So I'll just show you some solutions. We spoke about what Otis is doing currently in the industry and coming as well. Right, I'll talk about this. This is Otis Assistant, looking at the issues function in ACC. Right, we're a project in Northwest somewhere. These guys use ACC to snag. Right, and they had around 9,300 snags with the project. Right, 9,300 issues. With Autodesk Assistant, you can prompt it, give me issues that are still open for the past 3 months or the specific contractor, and immediately as a PM, you know, these are the issues that I need to address immediately, etc., etc., right? If it says Autodesk Assistant, not into your issues spectrum.
Yeah. And with that, just recently, the architect has approached us to try to find the, for example, the waterproofing clashes. So in that case, I had to manually search in the search prompt for the waterproofing issues, snag issues. So with this, yeah, it will be easier to find. Okay, so then jumping into the site coordination. So yes, you appreciate the design and design coordination, but in that sense, it also ends up to the site coordination. So you have your traditional CAFs versus your AI coordination. So in that case, manual verification, understanding with the method comparison, using things like Fallow or those type of tools to kind of actually have it on site and compare the BIM data. So in that sense, it's fed into the AI matrix and you can actually view your BIM model on site. So in that sense, in this case, for example, where QR code was placed on site and it was scanned with the tablet, and then now you can actually bring up the BIM model and seeing what it possibly look like and the static construction process around it.
I just want to say something on this as well. This is very useful. We do clash detection. You maybe achieve 12 clashes in a model that's like 80,000 square meters, right? And then on site, your subbies don't even see your BIM model. They're building up PDFs. Is that not? But I'm giving them just. But building up paper, but printers, drawings, so there will be clashes on site. Okay. So what this activity, what we're doing, coordination and clash detection, it shouldn't end when you break ground, right? That information should go back to site to resolve your RFIs, contract instructions, and fact instructions. Right? There are tools like Auto Builder that allow you to monitor what's happening on site, and those tools you could scan, you could take videos, and then compare it to the actual BIM model. Right? Now the introduction of AI, bringing that as-built site scan, get it processed with AI in the point cloud. Jay mentions recap as our AI functions processes data. Hope I'm not lying, Jay. Compared to your BIM geometry, and then start generating issues automatically. Low next example. Right. Now, very important for me as we close off this chat, give you guys a chance to ask questions. Right. Out of this, even the next presentation that are coming, one work we could only have consistent standards, right? And have data formats that can be used to communicate with the different MCPs. Luckily, Autodesk is changing its platform a bit drastically, where the data is now readable by different platforms as well. We will talk about it at the later stage. And then there needs to be governance as well. Just go back. And the coordination coverage needs to have model quality control, persistent metadata, and clear discipline ownership. Right, to the next. Right, so my approach is we always say if you can't standardize it, right, you can't use it. Right, so in the industry now, no need plus from a level 5 to 19650, the standard that assists us with digital delivery of the project. Right, and I'll use examples as well. We suck at this stuff, in South Africa. We had the privilege of working in projects in the Middle East as well, and the guys are very strict on naming conventions, not just a file name or a PDF, down to the family that you've nested in another family. It has small photo-specific naming conventions. That's important for you to be able to manage your project properly, right? You need to have consistent parameter mapping, as you use Revit and Civil 3D. You need to make sure that the parameters as you do, you can't change it 4 years down the line and decide that chair is no longer chair 01, it's now chair 0500. Because you're messing up the flow of data in the entire project. And the most important thing is working off a common data environment to create a single source of truth. Right. Okay, let's read some. Cool. Ernest? Or you want to add something about it?
No, I think that's...
Harvey, your AI is broken. So, basically, just to close it for, okay, right? The ideal AI coordination and facilitation, right? Just to get information quicker on a project instead of waiting 2-3 months to start getting your reports on how the model is working, on the clashes, etc., etc. AI as well in your algorithm tools should enable you to resolve your caches internally before we get into our federated environment. I know you wanted to close up on this side.
Yeah. So essentially, then BIM coordination entity starts changing where we approach the role as a BIM coordinator. So now it becomes like an AI-enabled BIM coordinator. So in that sense, then it just becomes easier for point-to-weight flow and data and stuff like that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. One more thing. Case study. We did a project in Malawi.
Yeah.
Right. Lyle managed to get the hotel building, conference room, spa building, back of house.
Yeah.
There's 5 buildings in total. When he got involved in the project sitting at around 3,000 clashes.
Yeah.
Right. These guys started building as well 2 years ago. Right. On site, not talking about the BIM model. On site, they're already almost about to hand over.
Yeah.
Right. On site, they've only had 1 clash, other than electrical, cable tray, and truss, steel truss, and only because the guys that did the steel trusses were working on AutoCAD.
Yeah.
And that's feedback that you probably see online as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ross. Good question.